My name is Naomi, and I have been a person who's come to use the women's shelter. And the reason I came here is because I had a situation at home where I was very frightened and I felt like I absolutely had to leave. But it really took my ex-husband striking my daughter across the face for me to leave. And that's kind of a tough thing. But I don't think I'm the only person who has to have something extreme happen to finally leave. But we left on evening, March 27th, and I got my girls out of my house. And we went and stayed at a hotel. And I realized that when I left, I could not go back, no matter what. So not really anybody knew what my situation was, and I wanted to try to keep my girls' lives as stable as possible. And so I actually came to the women's shelter and knocked on their door. I actually went through a intake process, and they had women there to take my girls to the side and get them kind of comfortable. It's a house in a neighborhood, and they took them to the side, and I went through and sat in an office with an advocate. And part of that process was going through a list of questions, and they wanted to know what had happened. And what was probably most interesting about going through that process is they had a series of about 13 questions. And what I realized in that process is that I probably had my blinders on for the longest time, because in those list of questions, they were basically yes or no questions. You know, has your husband ever done X, Y, and Z, and a whole host of questions. And really, almost every question I answered yes. And while I probably in some level knew there was abuse, I think I also had my blinders to it. I was so married to the idea of staying married and having a family for my girls and all of those things. But it was really pretty awful to really have to sit and face that I really was in this abusive situation. I was really in a bad situation. The advocates don't judge you. And that's a really important thing, because women make different choices. Some go back, some leave for a while and then go back, some leave and never go back. And just to have someone you know that will not judge you, because that's been happening at home the entire time. You don't get that here. They're very, very careful, I think, about not doing that, and that's a nice feeling to know that you're not being judged. And the very first thing they did was give us a room, a bedroom, and obviously there was 4 of us. We each had our own bed. They gave us bedding because we had no clothes. It was wintertime. We had no coats, no boots, other than the clothes that we were wearing. So they really had all of these things for us. So towels, toiletries, underwear. Who thinks about underwear? Pajamas, sweaters, everything. Toothbrushes, deodorant, all of those things they provided for us. They gave us a room, and they took us and gave us a tour of the whole place. And it's really a beautiful place for people to be able to come. It's almost nurturing feeling in terms of how the decor is. And so they gave us a tour, and they have a full kitchen. They have a dining room area. They had a place for little children. They have toys and videos. It's actually very cute. A big family room, laundry room. So there was food. So the very first place we went to was in our bedroom, and there's a closet in there, and there's dressers, and of course, like I said, they provided us bedding, and so it was just a matter of, all of us getting in that room and trying to get a sense of where we're at and what do we do from here. And so we made our beds and took the things that they provided for us and put them in dressers and just kind of huddled for a while and talked about what our situation was. One of the things I was most nervous about when I came here was my ex-husband, or husband at the time, finding us. And I will tell you, he did, because they saw him drive around the block. But they have high fences, number one. They have security cameras all over the place, and there's security systems on all of the windows, so no one can get in. And I felt pretty good about that. I mean, you're still nervous and you're still afraid, even though you know there's a really good security system in place, but it gave me that sense of comfort that I did not have to worry about the girls and I or someone breaking in. I mean, no one's going to get in through these windows. No one's going to get in through that front door. You know, if you have little kids, no one's going to be able to come and snatch them, because there's this inner sanctuary inside of the building that's outside where your children can go and play. No one's going to get in there. If a car comes into that driveway, they already know that a car is in here. If somebody comes, that's the only way into this lot, if you will. There's cameras on the outside. They can see who you are. You can't even put your windows up, because they've not, you know, so that someone can't try to get in from the outside through the windows. You know, even the roofing system, they've got it secure. You can bring your pets here. In fact, when we left, we have indoor cats, and we left them behind. And we were able to ask the judge if we could get the cats. I wasn't sure if we could bring them here or not, but they do allow you to bring animals. So I was able to bring our 2 indoor cats, because my girls in particular were very nervous about what was going to happen to the cats. That, you know, their dad would not take care of them, he wouldn't feed them or whatever. So we were able to bring our cats here. We brought a litter box, and they helped provide food for the cats. And for families that have pets, you know, they're an extension of your family. So to be able to do that, I think, made the girls feel better. They weren't worried about the cats, you know, and it's another level of comfort to be able to have your pets with you. So we were thrilled that we were able to bring our pets here as well. One of the other things that I found really helpful while I was here is, for me personally, was the domestic abuse group, which is something that's held once a week over in another building called the Alex and Brandon Center. And this was a place where women from all different stages go and are able to talk with counselors about domestic abuse. And for me, it was a place to really release a lot of maybe anger. It wasn't maybe anger, it was anger. And talk about the stuff that I was going through in my personal situation. And it was nice to, again, have women who are going through this. And unfortunately, for most women who leave, they end up going back. And that can happen many times before a woman leaves and doesn't go back. So that's a big, huge process, understanding how the abuse cycle works and how we get sucked in because we feel guilty that we get into this situation. And so I was appreciative of that support group, and I used it for well over a year. The other thing I found and learned about was the Alex and Brandon Center itself. Because of my situation, my ex-husband wanted to see the girls, and of course I didn't want him to be alone with them. So there's this additional service in the community that allows for you to have supervised visits with the other parents, so you can feel safe about your children not being hurt or being corralled or, you know, made to feel bad. There's very stringent guidelines on what can happen during those visits. And I think other people use it for safe exchanges, or so the parents don't have to see each other because it's such a bad situation. So getting ready for that court process was really kind of scary. I mean, if you've never been in the court system before, it's a freaky thing. You know, you don't want to have to go in front of the judge. It's just intimidating, that whole process. The other thing that they do here is that they actually send people with you to court just as a support system. They don't speak on your behalf, but just having those few people sitting in behind you just helps lift and support you in a way that is really helpful when you're in court. You know, you're sitting there with the judge, and you're sitting over here with this person you just I was just shaking. I was upset to even have to look at them. So that support system and them telling you what to expect, so you had some sense of what was going to happen in that courthouse or courtroom that day, was really helpful. I was talking about at the very beginning how they provided us with clothing and, towels and bedding and all of that. But one of the things that happened regularly, and I will tell you, was a little bit like Christmas, is when people would come by and drop off donations. Because you remember, we come here with nothing, and someone comes with their bags and their boxes of stuff. And when we had evenings where we would do our group sessions, after we got done doing that, we would get to come in the hallway. I know it sounds kind of childlike, but there would be all these boxes and bags of stuff that we could go through and take for ourselves and our children. And wow, so there were toys and knickknacks, all different kinds of clothing and wonderful stuff like makeup and jewelry. I mean, it sounds kind of funny and nonsensical, but those were things that made a big difference to us. The outfit that I wore to court, I got from here. I got this actually fabulous red blazer that I was able to wear into court. And so clothing for women to go to court so you can look nicer. I mean, you don't want to go to court in a pair of jeans. So any kind of work clothing and shoes. I mean, so you might get a pair of tennis shoes when you're here, but you can't go into court. So even dress shoes. I just want to say how important those things were to us. And I know it was like Christmas for us to be able to go through and pick out things for ourselves and for our families while we were here. So donations are a really big part. The other thing that I remember from being here is that a woman came through here probably within my first couple of days, and she was just doing a tour because their corporation was thinking about donating. And I think they wanted to see, what is this facility all about? And I hope that this video will help people who are looking to make corporate donations to the women's shelter, how much of a value this is to the women who come and stay here and to the children who need a place of protection and safety. And that obviously extends to the Alex and Brandon Center as well. So it makes a difference, and that's my message, is that it makes a difference. Other things that I think about for my time here is just being thankful to have a place to be. Even though it's difficult to see women going through everything that they are and their children and what they're dealing with. Those are all really hard things. But on the other hand, having a place to stay, to have food, to have shelter, to have people to talk to is really important. I think that's the best thing I'd like to say about that.